Hello and welcome to another episode of the Playing On podcast. My name is Markowski and thank you for joining me. This episode is brought to you by Planet Eclipse, who makes the LVR and the super secret Camo Matte CS something. That's all I'm going to call it because that's all I know about it. But I saw some pictures that they have the new marker coming out, and so far it looks like camo tape and CS1 grip. So that's I am in the dark as much as everybody else. I wish I knew all the secrets, but I don't. I know the secret of this coffee, and it's delicious. It's invigorating. But yeah, Planet Eclipse has been a huge support of this podcast, and I have been fortunate enough to shoot Planet Eclipse throughout my career, and I couldn't be happier with the markers that they've put out, especially with the LV series. Everyone on here has heard me, babble on about the LV1. It's one of those things where you just don't knock it till you try it, and if you shot one at first and you didn't like it, I don't think you gave it a fair chance. Go back and try it again. Because these things are nasty, and they've only been getting better and better. They shoot so smooth. I think they're better looking. I think they, I like the overall feel of the marker better. So make sure you check them out, planeteclipse.com. They have all kinds of soft gear on there as well as casual apparel. So yeah, planeteclipse.com. Thank you so much for sponsoring this and every podcast. All right, guys and gals who listen to the podcast. This one is with Marcello. I'm sure you all know him, but I've had so many conversations with this guy coming up through the ranks and watching him grow and become this just killer on whatever team he's been on. I mean, he has that mindset of just being the best and learning at every turn that he can, and it shows. And I think he's a great role model for kids growing up, for even adults and everyone in the game. He's a true professional, and I think he's an overall stand-up guy and a great friend. So without further ado, here is the podcast with Marcello Margott.
I'm sorry, man.
No, no worries.
I hope it doesn't happen again. I don't know. It said like something, send your diagnostics, whatever. I don't know.
No, it's all good. It's probably like, why are you
and then
using
I get
Skype?
Well, no, and then I get a thing in the upper right corner. Welcome to Mac OS High Sierra. Take a quick tour to see what's new. How about you don't shut me out anymore? Let's do that.
That happened to me right before I was getting ready to do a podcast with I can't even remember, with somebody. And it just shut everything down and was like, okay, you ignored the update for so long, now I'm just going to do it anyway. And it was like a half hour, and I was like, fuck. But yeah, so we were talking.
Sorry.
No, no worries. It's never fucking easy doing these things.
Right.
But so you're at the Combine, and the Boston Paintball in the Combine was actually running the Winter Classic this past
year. Yes.
So why still call it the NXL Winter Classic?
I don't know if it was called the NXL Winter Classic this year. Maybe I'm misspeaking. Maybe NXL had something to do with it, because obviously I know they had Go Sports there. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure all the details, but was it called the NXL Winter Classic this year? I thought it was just the Winter Classic.
Can you look it up for me?
Yeah, maybe.
There's nobody here.
Don't you have your guy?
It's gonna be me.
Did they check it out?
One day.
Whatever.
One day.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I think what the question I was eventually getting to was that do you see this becoming something where it's now multi-clinics, throughout the nation, with all these pros doing this thing, to where it's not just confined to this one time a year?
Well, dude, absolutely. So first of all, the Combine is a little separate from what a traditional clinic is. The Combine is more geared around players coming and showcasing their talent. So we set up, we have a bunch of different fields with different drills and different obstacle courses or scenarios that we have them go through, that we grade them on. We grade them, we score them, and that's what the combine is. It's more of them coming and showcasing what they're capable of, trying to get themselves noticed and just kind of see where they're at, what division they rank at, what the pros think they need to improve on, that kind of stuff. It's more that than a traditional clinic, where traditional clinics were, teaching all of these things. We're sending them through series of drills and explaining stuff, although still at the combine, they do get a touch of that because, after every drill or thing that they run through, we are still critiquing them. We're still adding the value of the information, but it's not quite the same.
Right.
I do think absolutely we're going to see more than we had. Just had such a good response, dude. People loved the combine. They loved it. Like, they had so much fun, and everybody there, not only were a lot of them returning from previous ones, but they were just hyped on the next one. Like, can't wait to improve. I want to bring our whole team out, all sorts of stuff. So I do think, eventually we probably want to do, and this is obviously more of a question for the owner, but we've had a chance to talk quite a bit now that I'm working with him with DKI and we're doing that sort of thing. I think you're going to see a lot of regional type ones that might even make it to where you can qualify for the main national one. There's a lot of different ideas and things that we're working on that are pretty exciting. It's something that paintball's never had, right? I mean, all these other sports have this. They have a platform for people, athletes, to go and showcase, what skills they have, what they got. Because, I mean, you could probably speak to this better than I can. I was super lucky growing up in paintball. I had the pros at my field. I had Dynasty, Ironman, Infamous. Those teams are at my field, so I didn't need to travel for a clinic or wait for a clinic to come into my place. I didn't need to travel to get noticed. All I had to do was play well enough, and they would notice me because by luck I was in the right area. But you're someone, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you had to really put yourself out there and get yourself noticed. Like, there wasn't much going on in your hometown as far as professional paintball.
Yeah, well, before I get into me, but I kind of want to talk about a little bit how you were kind of saying about you had it a little bit better because of the area, because of the teams. I think the opposite, to be honest. I think because, how many, at your age, when you first started playing out there and you saw all those pros, how many other Marcello Margotts were there? Thinking that, oh, hey, there's all these teams, I'm eventually going to get noticed. How many other guys or how many other kids were thinking that, back then? So I think you really had to step out and work hard in an environment like that. I think it's just like the internet now, right? Back then, when YouTube or anything else started, it was, I want to say, fairly somewhat easy. If you had some kind of compelling content, you were going to get noticed. But now it's so flooded with everything. I feel like you have to be pretty out there to be able to get noticed. So I think in your case, I think it was a lot harder than what you think. Like, for me, if I'm the faster out of a lot of guys playing in this area, I'll get noticed a lot sooner, I feel, because we're not flooded with so many players. There might not be a big pro team around, but as long as there's some kind of team that maybe plays national events, I might be noticed at that, which was what happened. But yeah, I mean, all we had was Titman Effect. If we went north, there was like Detroit Thunder. If you went east, maybe there was All Americans. I never really followed too much of Aftershock, or even went to Badlands, because for me at the time it was just kind of too far away, and I didn't know enough about all the pro teams and about the sport in general. So I mean, it was. I think it comes down to this. The right people worked the right amount of effort and level to get where they at now, no matter where they came from.
100%. I mean, I see what you're saying there. I totally do. And I guess usually, when people have opinions, the answer can sometimes almost always be right in the middle. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we're coming from two different areas, too. So there's two different opinions. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it was cool because being able to see these pros at the field every single weekend. Ooh, God, I'm just blowing this whole podcast. I got to put my Apple Watch on mute mode so it started talking to me.
Technology, man. Technology.
Technology, it's crazy. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up with it all. Jeez. But yeah, no, like I was saying, dude, it was just for me being able to see these pros at the field every weekend. You get to learn from them a lot quicker. You know what I mean? You get to elevate your game a lot faster. And then, I do see what you're saying as maybe there's a larger pool of players that are also doing the same thing, which you were right. There was a lot of kids that probably a lot more kids than maybe in your area that had that dream because it was so attainable. So, I mean, yeah, very valid point.
And you had to put yourself in that position, right? You had to want it enough to put yourself in that position to when I don't know how it was, but this is just kind of how I did it when I could, was when the 5 guys lined up at the start box, you were standing right behind it, listening to what they were saying, trying to figure it all out without saying anything because you don't want to be that guy yet, until that right moment. Sure. So,
dude, I mean, I guess I'm still pretty annoying now, but I was definitely the annoying little kid that was just always like, I was, 11, 12 years old. If I saw a pro at the field, I would go up to him, hey, can we play? Can you teach me some stuff? Can I show you some things? Like, I was constantly just there bugging them. Like, I realize now that I was probably bugging them, but I was just so curious and so fascinated by what they were doing. And I loved paintball from the first time I played. I mean, I started playing with my dad. My older brother got involved as well, and they were both, better than me. I was 9, 10 years old when we started. So the competitive side of me always really just wanted to be better than them and better than the people at my field. That was the competition. And so people always ask, like, why did you want to become a pro player? And it's not really how it went. I actually was just a competitor first, and I just wanted to be the best one at my field and with my friends. Like, when I went out every Saturday for fun, I wanted to be the best one,
Yeah.
And so that's how it just kind of evolved and, grew from there, I guess.
Now, but I mean, was there a point when you were like, man, I could be good enough to go pro, or was it kind of one of those things where it's like I'm at the level now where I want to go pro. That is my next goal.
Yeah, I think it was probably, one of the first pros that I met was Davey Williamson at the field. And I was really close with the Ironman guys, and they would always kind of take me under their wing. Billy Wing even kind of take me under their wing. Billy Wing, funny.
How was Davey? How was Davey back then?
Honestly, he was awesome to me.
Yeah.
He was really cool. He was super welcoming. I was like his guy. Actually, I have an old 2001 Ironman jersey that they won World Cup in. I think it was 2001, maybe 2002. I forget the year, but I remember he gave that to me, and it's like one of my favorite jerseys to this day.
That's awesome.
And yeah, no, he was always super cool. He was one of the first to really, I don't know, I guess let me peek into that side of professional paintball.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it really started, though, was probably when Mike Inman called my house. I was 13 years old, and I had known Mike Inman. I knew about him. He was playing for Dynasty. Him and Mike Coda. Me and Mike, you remember him?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure. And all those guys, they would always go out on Wednesdays at this place called Adrenaline Paintball, about an hour and a half from my house, and play Wednesday nights. This field was awful. It was like literally rocks this size. I mean, big, not pebbles. These are like small rocks,
small boulders.
Gravel. Yeah, small boulders. Really poor lighting and a really small airball field. But a lot of the guys would go and play on Wednesdays, and so I would go every Wednesday night and get beat up, just totally get beat up. But I was down to play every game, and so I guess that impressed Mike. He for some reason
saw
that maybe there was some talent or the work ethic. Yeah, I'm not really sure, but I do know that he found my phone number, and to this day, I'm curious as to how he found my. Is it the house phone? It wasn't even. We didn't have cell phones. I didn't have a cell phone back then.
I'll ask Mike because I'm going to have him on the podcast soon, so I'll ask him.
Awesome.
I'll write that down.
Curious to know. He called my house, and I remember my dad answered, or maybe it was my stepmom, and she gave him the phone to my dad. I don't know, but they came to me and they said, Mike Hinman's on the phone for you. And I remember at first being like, what? Why does he want to talk to me? Like, what did I do? Because I mean, Mike Hinman's a tough guy at paintball, especially back then. And so I remember getting on the phone with him, and he was telling me that he was putting together this team, San Diego Aftermath. They were going to play Division III, and he let me know the opportunities that were going to be possible as far as playing. It was a completely free ride. Everything was taken care of: flights, paint, practice, you name it. And the silliest thing about that is at the time I was the captain of the first paintball team that I started, called the Die Kids. We were very successful. We won all of our beginner tournaments. We moved up a division, and I mean, I I had a goal of bringing them pro one day or something like that, or at least like getting up to the high divisions, you know? And so I actually debated this idea, which looking back on it now is hilarious that it was something that I even debated.
Yeah.
But after about a day or two, I said, you know what, I have to take this opportunity. This is what I need to do. So called him back and told him I was on board. And that's when he let me know that it actually wasn't confirmed and I had to try out. So, okay, perfect.
Welcome.
So, yeah, welcome. So I remember me and my buddy, we went and tried out for the team. I had probably the worst paintball day of my career up to that point. No joke. We were trying out, but we were scrimmaging against the Ironman.
Yeah,
which,
nice.
Which, yeah, I mean, no easy feat. This was in 2005 too. So, you know, they were going through a little bit of a rebuild at the time. But I had a horrible showing at the tryout. I remember leaving thinking, dude, I didn't make it. Like, I'm for sure not going to make this team. This is a huge bummer. Mike called and let me know that, you know, I was still going to make the team. Let me know that I had a bad weekend. And, you know, he sees
honest.
talent. So, yeah, Mike's always honest. You're not going to get anything from that guy. Anything that he believes, you're going to know for sure. I've always appreciated that about him. So, anyway, he gave me an opportunity to play with Aftermath. And I think it was as soon as we started that program, because that program was a professional program. You know, we weren't pro players, but we were treated like pros. We acted like pros. We were expected to show up and perform like pros. No joke. So I think that was when I really saw, hey, this is something I want to do. You know, we were practicing against Dynasty every weekend. This is, you know, Dynasty was winning every tournament back in 2005. You know, they were just
killing
the kings. And I think that was really when the switch turned and I said, you know, I want to go all in on this. This is 100% what I want to do. I'm addicted. I'm hooked. And there's nothing else that I want to do. Whether I making my career choice back then, you know, as you know, professional paintball isn't very lucrative unless you hustle in many different ways, or, you know, there are a select few that get nice paychecks as salary for playing. But, you know, I knew that at the time. I just knew that whether I wanted to go work for a company within the industry and do graphic design, I remember that was like one of the first things I wanted to do, or sales or something, whatever it was, I was going to play pro paintball and make it work somehow. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
I definitely made that decision around 13 years old.
Well, were you playing basketball, like heavy into basketball at this time too?
No, dude, basketball's such a newfound hobby for me. I've only been playing basketball for like maybe 6 years. Yeah. Basketball is way later in my life. Oh my gosh, when I started basketball, it was horrible.
So where does the competitive nature come from? I mean, is it from any other sport back then, or what were you doing as a child that kind of turned you into this competitive monster?
Okay, that's a good question. I like this one because it's something I preach often. But when I was 4 years old, I started Taekwondo.
Nice.
So Taekwondo was my addiction. I was obsessed with Taekwondo. I would go Monday through Friday, every single day. Then Saturdays would usually be competitions and stuff. And my dad ended up buying a studio because I was so hooked on it. My dad ended up partnering up with somebody else. They got a studio, and the Grand Master lived with us for like 4 years.
Jeez.
So I would get home from school, or whatever it was, and I would literally train at home. Then we would go to the studio. I'd train for 3 hours. I'd go through like separate classes because they would usually be hour classes. I would stay for all three of them, and then I'd go home and I would still train.
Yeah.
Taekwondo I was hooked. I mean, you know, you're in mixed martial arts yourself, I think.
Just started. When I was young, I was in it for a little bit, and then we moved, and I got away from it. And I just took the opportunity recently to get into jiu-jitsu, and I'm all in, man.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love it. For me, I think it was the best thing to happen to me because Taekwondo really instilled a lot of discipline. You know, the culture behind that martial art is very disciplined. It's very respectful, and so it in my opinion made me a very disciplined and respectful person. I think I took some serious core fundamentals from Taekwondo that I apply to my everyday life. Like I always tell people, one day, if and when I have kids, they're for sure going to be in Taekwondo or some other form of martial arts, not the typical UFC type stuff. In my opinion, there's a big difference between that and say jiu-jitsu or Taekwondo, karate, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I was working my way up through the ranks, and actually, when I finally got my brown belt, that was when my dad ended up partnering up and trying to get a studio. We got a studio, and the Grandmaster had already been living with us for a little bit, straight from Korea. This guy was no joke, dude. If I'd come home from school, if I'd have any sort of like argument with my parents or talk back, we'd say, Marcello-san, upstairs. And I mean, I'm probably butchering the accent, but no joke. Oh man, I know what's coming. So I'd go upstairs, and he would have I always forget what they're called, the bamboo sticks that you spar with.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Sticks that yeah. He would make me hold my hands out, both of them, and he would whack me in the hands like as hard as he could with them. And the thing was, is if I moved my hands or screamed or anything, I would get it again. Yeah. My parents were okay with this, you know. Keep in mind, my dad is a 78-year-old Italian from, New York.
Yeah.
Tough guy. The stories he tells me of his father, it's just a different time, different era, and that's how kids were raised.
Absolutely.
So that's how I was raised. That's how I was raised, with that type of discipline. And the Grandmaster,
it's respect
his name
too.
is Master Yoon. 100% respect. But, I've always been appreciative of that, because I feel like that foundation growing up really set the tone for how I approach everything in my life now. Mm-hmm. And when I was 8, like I said, is when I was a brown belt. I was training again. I mean, I want to say 6 or 7 days a week I was doing stuff for Taekwondo. I was just so hooked on it. If I wasn't doing other stuff that I had to do, I was doing stuff for Taekwondo, because I was just, technique and form were extremely important to me, which is kind of funny because now in paintball, technique and form are like two of the most obviously they're important, but yeah, they're definitely the important base fundamentals. But I kind of think it's maybe what I've built my game off of too, gunfighting, running it, like that kind of accuracy, fundamental type stuff. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe somewhere, some underlying way, there's a connection there. But that definitely was the first, I ended up getting my black belt when I was 9 years old. I had my second degree black belt by the time I was 10. I won 2 state championships in Taekwondo black belt competition. And then I ended up retiring from Taekwondo, I guess. I just, my parents ended up splitting up, and it wasn't as easy for me to go to class and stuff like that. So yeah. I stopped playing Taekwondo. And that was actually when I found paintball.
Huh.
Was, about a year after my parents had split up. I was living with my mom and my older cousin. I remember, I don't even want to tell this story, but I'm going to. My older cousin had a paintball gun, and he would go around graffitiing signs.
Yeah.
He'd just go around shooting signs.
Everybody knows somebody.
Listening,
yeah.
Please don't do that. We hate it. We really don't like it. But yeah, that's what he did. I didn't even know it was a game. And I just knew he was my older cousin. He was cool, and he was doing cool stuff. So I wanted a paintball gun, so I could go shoot signs. You know what I mean? Yep. That's what I wanted. Parents wouldn't let me get it. Wouldn't let me get it. I probably had a 6-month debate, because I was trying to get a paintball gun. I thought they looked super cool. We'd always go to Walmart and remember like the Stingrays, the Talons, all those plastic guns. I thought they were
weird looking.
See little baby CO2 cartridges,
yep.
like the OG guns. And I remember the first time I finally got a paintball gun, my mom was actually dropping me off at my dad's house, and we stopped at Walmart before that. And I went down the paintball section while she was doing her shopping, and I brought this paintball gun back out, $25 Stingray gun. And, I had to be home and back. I'm like, hey, Mom, I want to get something, please. And I show it to her, and she's like, no way. Your dad's going to kill me. I can't get that for you. And this is probably the first business deal I ever made in my life. I remember promising to I had problems with a lot of her boyfriends and guys she was dating. We didn't get along. I was a little brat, I'm not gonna lie, but she also had some questionable selections, excuse me. And I remember making a deal with her. This is what got me a paintball gun. As I said, Mom, I will get along with your boyfriend for 3 months if you get me this paintball gun. And she agreed. So she got me the paintball gun. I brought it home to my dad. He got so mad when I walked through the door. Again, I had to be on my back, and I said, Dad, I got something. I want to show it to you. What'd you get? And I show it to him. He rips it out of my hand, sends me to my room. So mad at me. And I remember just sitting there. I'm like, oh, great. Well, that wasn't very long lived. I'm toast. That's it. About like 30 minutes later, he comes in. He's like, hey, come out here. Let's go out to the backyard. So I go out to the backyard. He has the gun completely open, taken out. All the parts are ready. It's put together. And he's like, hey, let's shoot this thing. And so, we pick it up, and I remember this is how little we knew. We were shooting at trees in our backyard, and we were worried that the paintball was going to ricochet off a tree and hit us in the face. Which, for those of you, if you're listening and you don't really know paintball, a paintball is not going to ricochet off a tree.
Hey man, depending on what kind of paint you pick up, if it's $2 Walmart paint.
I don't think it can. I think no matter what, if you shoot a paintball at a tree, it's gonna break. I don't know. I'm pretty certain. But yeah, I guess nothing's ever quite 100%. But anyway, we're shooting it back there, and dude, we just had a blast. So then my dad tells me, hey, while you're in your room, I looked it up. Did you know it's an actual game? You can go and play this. I said, no, I have no idea. So he says, well, do you want to go this weekend? We could go on Saturday. Yeah, for sure. Let's go. So we went out to the field on Saturday. I had to rent all the equipment, the goggles and all that. All I had was the gun. And it's funny because my dad didn't play. He just wanted to go and watch me. At the time, my dad was like 62 or something like that. So anyway, I'm playing and playing my first game ever in the woods at Borderland Paintballs. That was actually a famous paintball park back in the day that the NPPLs used to go to. But I was playing my first game, and I guess my dad, this is how he'll tell the story at least, he's watching from the sidelines, and he got shot. And he goes, oh my God, this hurts. He's like, I can't let my son be out there by himself. I got to protect him. This is how he tells me. So he went and rented equipment, and then play the rest of the day with me.
That's awesome.
And he was my back player, And from that day forward, we were completely hooked. We did not miss a single weekend for as long as I can remember. I don't think we ever missed a weekend. Yeah. From that day forward, every single Saturday. And then as we got a little more advanced and we started to meet some of the better players, we started turning Saturdays into Sundays. We would go Sunday because apparently that was when the good players or the pro players would go. And yeah, dude, that's how it started. It started as a fun hobby with me and my dad, a great bonding experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally, dude.
Yeah, you can't get those times back, and you're so fortunate to be able to have those kind of stories with your father, because, I know my real dad back then wasn't around, and when I was getting into paintball, excuse me, that was kind of taken away from my sports of what I was good at in high school. And at first my parents were kind of like, what is this? This is taking out a lot of time and your focus away from things that you were good at. You have the potential of making something. And I think it's just like in all of us, that first time where we got shot, or the first time we shot somebody, or even when we didn't and we just had that adrenaline rush of not knowing what's going to happen. And I just got hooked from there, and I don't know why, because I love playing baseball. I didn't mind football too much, but there were just a lot bigger guys out there that just want to smash my head in, and it wasn't like, I could just run faster than everybody else, so I always pictured it like that, like just run away from all the big guys. But I loved baseball. I almost went to college playing ball, but there was something about paintball that I just couldn't shake. That it just kind of dug in deeper than what baseball and anything I did. And I did a lot of shit. I'm one of those people where if I haven't tried it, I want to. Because, just like the same fucking cliche of everything is, you only live once, and, you're only young once, and this and that. It's like, but life is long if you let it be. Life is short if you let it be. And unless you take action and you make your life worth living, then it's going to pass you by. But if you take advantage of everything that is possible in this thing we call life, then you'll experience so much and gain so much knowledge. And I've realized now that I'm older too that knowledge is so much more of what word am I looking for? It's so much more to your advantage than any kind of physical skill or anything. The more it's ridiculous. And the more I've been doing this and talking with people and getting to know people and kind of getting inside people's heads and how they think, it just has opened up my world on what I want to try and do. It's just like the Joe Rogan podcast. I had an inkling that I kind of want to get back into martial arts, but when I heard it on his podcast and other people doing it and contacting me about it, and I was all in. I just got hooked all over again. It's just I love I love doing so many things, and I feel like everybody needs to not necessarily find something that they love, but just be open to
100%.
to things.
100%. Sorry, I don't know if you noticed, it kind of cut out for a second, but I got you back right away.
I love it. It's all right. It's real life, man. This is real life.
It's real life. This is how it goes. Exactly. You got to get around the obstacles. You know what I mean?
Around them,
over
the way,
or through them.
Yeah,
exactly. Obstacles. I saw you posted that today. I like that.
Have you read that book?
I like that. No, I don't think so. What book's that from?
It is. It's actually the name of the book. It's the title. It's the Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday.
I have not read it. It's a good read.
It's an absolutely good read.
I'm interested. I got a confession. I read quite a bit, a decent amount, but I have trouble finishing books. Mm-hmm. I've only finished a couple books. I'll read quite a few, but I get to a point in the book that I feel like the message is redundant, and I feel like I've learned what I came there to learn, right. And I kind of move on. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. Well, it can't be a good thing, but I guess I just don't know if it's a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But I do that a lot with books. Once I feel like I get the message, I'm kind of okay. Let's move on and try to learn something else a little bit. But The Obstacle is the Way. I'll definitely check it out.
So I have a suggestion. Audiobook. Try it. Try listening to it on an audiobook. I think because you listen to podcasts, it might be a little easier. Because you just flip it on and you kind of just go along with it. At least that's how I read it halfway through and then the rest of the way I listened to it. But yeah, it's a good read. It's not crazy long, but it'll grab your attention for sure.
Okay, yeah, man, check it out.
So let's talk about this BKI thing.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So it originated as Grayson's kind of baby, and pretty much teaching on his style of play and how he would like to, I guess, really online clinic. But what is this growing into, and what is the direction of BKI?
So for me, for the last at least 5 years, I mean, I've even dabbled with a few different partners on different online teaching type of things, because it's something that I've wanted to do for as long as I've been teaching. The unfortunate fact is I only have 52 weekends in a year, and 15 of them at least are taken up with the NXL and practices, and then we have other tournaments like the European League and this and that. So it leaves us very limited to how many people we could actually reach out to. Right. So doing something online that is a quality product is something I've wanted to do for a long time, but there just hasn't been the platform available. I'm not intelligent in that field of things. I can bring the content, but I've never really known how to structure the back end of stuff. So Grayson had set up a beautiful platform, great idea, started to really get things rolling. And I think, how long were they doing it for? A year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years tops?
I think so. Maybe 2 or 3.
Dude, maybe I'm off. Time, you said life could go slower fast. I feel like it's going fast lately.
Yeah, I hear you.
But sometimes it goes slow. But 3 years even. And I thought he did a great job. He really did. Him and Scott have a ton of videos. They got over 400 videos on there. But the new incarnation of it is Anthony from Boston Paintball. He's the guy that runs the Combine. He owns Boston Paintball out in Boston, obviously. And dude, the guy is just a total pioneer. Like he has a passion for paintball. They've been open and doing his own thing since 1992, so he's been in the game for a really long time. Yeah, he's not new. He's not someone that's just coming in looking to make a quick buck, which is something that I'm really hesitant on when I work with new people. Is I need to believe in the whole thing. I need to believe in all of the content. I need to believe in the structure. I need to believe in the process. I need to believe in all of it. Otherwise, I'm not a part of it. Right. And if I'm completely honest, that was why I didn't do much with BKI in the past, is because I felt it was a little too much for Grayson to handle. Everything that they had and did was as much as they could do with the stuff that they were given. You know what I mean? With the opportunities that they had, they did as much as they could. But for me, I just, it wasn't quite what I envisioned. It was close, but not quite there. And when Anthony took it over, and Rusty Glaze being involved, redoing the website, making everything a lot cleaner, a lot more digestible, I was all in, because it's exactly what I have wanted to do for a long time. We have an awesome team. Grayson is still involved, which Grayson adds a ton of value. Scott with his fitness is still involved, obviously adds a ton of value there. And we have some awesome other people on board. We got Nick Sloviak, Nick Laval, Ryan Greenspan, obviously. Dude needs no introduction. He's been teaching the game for a long time. Yeah. Greg Sewers. The crew, the team that we have is just extremely powerful. It's each person adds their own, specialty that I think is really beneficial to anyone who wants to learn any sort of paintball tips, tricks, drills, skills, whatever you want to call it.
It's very diverse,
yeah. Very diverse. And, we're also going to have a bunch of guest people in that, have videos on their own thing. Like right now we're working with some of the Impact players on doing a snake series, how to make an impact in the snake. Cheesy, I know, but but dude, basically it's an online subscription-based program that you can sign up for, and you can go through course by course, and you can really learn the intricacies of this game. Because as you know, and you asked me earlier of like other sports, and you asked me about basketball actually, and how long I've been playing. The main reason I started playing basketball is because I would go out with some of my best friends, and dude, I couldn't dribble the ball. This was 6 years ago. I couldn't dribble the ball. I couldn't dribble the ball when I shot. They would make fun of me because it would literally go over the backboard. That's no joke. And so I know what it takes to get good at something, just like you do. We understand the process involved in getting good at something. So yeah. I wanted to challenge myself. And actually my best friend, Gino, been best friends since like 5th grade. One of my strongest influences actually in life, and not many people know him obviously because he's not involved with paintball, but kid's like good at everything just naturally, and so anyway, basketball he's really good at. And I remember 6 years ago I told him like, okay dude, you know what, I'm having fun playing this game. I'm horrible, but I'm gonna be better than you. And so I'm gonna start actually practicing, and I watch videos, I take some classes on dribbling and shooting, and I'm in the gym all the time, like treating it as if I someday want to go pro or something, which obviously isn't gonna happen, but just for fun. And so to see that progression in the game is awesome, because it's the same thing in any other sport. It's always the little details. Whether you're a businessman, an athlete,
an artist,
your relationship, an artist, it's the little details that make the big picture. And when you understand that, you can really dissect almost anything and get good at it. But at BKI, that's what we want to do. That's our goal. Is we want to be able to teach the players every little part of the game. So right now, again, there's already around 400 videos on there. We're going to be continuously bringing out content of, how to snap shoot. And we're going to do very simple drills leading all the way up to very advanced drills. Run and shoot, break down 2-on-3 situations, 5-on-5 situations, how to dissect certain field layouts. I mean, honestly, anything you can think of to make you a better player, we plan on bringing on there for our members. Down the road, I know we have vision of even offering a bigger opportunity for people to connect with the professors, if you will. Yeah. The teachers, the instructors.
I see what you did there.
On a wait, I think it's somewhere on my back. Where's it at? It's back there.
Oh, there it is.
It's back there. Boom. Yeah.
Professor. Nice.
For those of you just listening and not watching the video, I'm wearing a nice little BKI shirt, and it's got the professors on the back. But anyways, our goal is to eventually even offer, personalized training where you can, for an additional cost, you can connect with one of the professors and have your own program put together that's very specific to you and your team, however it works. So the thing that I'm excited about is honestly the opportunities are very endless with BKI. It's the first, maybe it's not the first. I know they had that Project K over in Europe somewhere, but it's definitely the first online program with this qualified of professionals
with the scale.
The scale. So I'm excited about it. I'm pumped. I mean, if you guys have been watching my social media lately, I'm pushing it a lot because it's something I really believe in, and I think it'll really benefit a lot of the players. I think it's an awesome opportunity to connect with many more players than I ever could before. I mean, dude, to be completely honest, we teach clinics because it's part of our job, and you got to make money, and I go to fields and I teach clinics to get paid, of course. But
got to make the money,
dude. It is got to make money. Yeah, 100%. But there's also just as much of me that loves the genuine feeling of having a kid come up to you at the end of the day and say, man, I am so excited about everything I learned today. Thank you. I cannot wait to apply this and that. And then them go and apply it. And a few months later, they hit you up with, dude, we just won our first tournament.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. It's all thanks to, that clinic or your book or whatever it might be. That feeling is so special, dude, because you feel like you've connected with somebody through a journey that you understand. Like, I understand, and I remember every single person along the way that helped me become the player I am today. I remember them. Like, we started this conversation out with me telling you about Davey Williamson. So it's a chance for me to make that connection with thousands of more people than I ever could before.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, dude, that's like, it's the ultimate. And then what's really cool is you create the connection with them through paintball. But these kids, these men, these women, they end up actually looking at you as more of a role model than just a paintball player. So you get to also change their lives on how they approach life, how they do their day to day. You get to more than just their paintball skills. You get to have a real impact on, I don't know, possibly their health, their happiness, and things like that. And that's, I mean, to me, that's irreplaceable. That's my ultimate form of success, is how much have you helped other people? How much is what you do something you truly care about? And what kind of impact have you left on the people around you? That's like, dude, that's the ultimate form, right? I mean, money's great. We need money, and hopefully money comes with it, which it usually will. But if that's the goal, then...
But the product has to be good.
Of course. Of course the product has to be good. 100%. And again, that's why, I'm very selective with who I do work with and who I'm interested in teaching with or relaying, because you're right. Yeah, the product has to be great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, are there going to be, are you going to be inviting pros to upload content or push content your way, or is it going to be a select group? Because I know you said a couple impact guys, but is it going to kind of be, well, if, this guy from the Outlaws wants to do a running and shooting video and send it your way, are you guys going to use stuff like that, or are you going to kind of keep it,
we will be very selective. So we'll have our 7 professors that will be on there full time. But then we will have specially selected guests.
So
that might do
guest
their own
fessers.
Series of something. Yes, guest fessers.
Yeah.
I like that, guest fessers.
Guest fessers.
Excuse me.
Well, cool. Yeah, so, I mean, that's going to be. I think it's going to be very popular. I think we need something like that. I mean, very community based, where everybody can relate to, because like we said before too, the professors are very diverse in their skills and abilities. So I think it's diverse enough to where a player can come up and go, oh, okay, I play more like him, or I like the way he plays, so I want to play more like him. Or I would love to see what I would love to see within the next. I wish it would be next year, but I don't think it's going to happen. But I want to say within the next 3 to 5 years, I want to see the first competitive woman professional paintball player on the field.
Yeah, that would be a cool thing to see. What's great though, dude, is I've seen more women at either my clinics or international events in the last 3 or 4 years than ever before. So they're coming. They're making their way for sure. And I've actually seen some that are very talented. Really good shots, not afraid.
Yeah.
I actually had this girl, shoot, I wish I remember her name. It was about 2 years ago down in Peru, and she was like 12 years old. This girl was fearless. She was one of the better ones there. And obviously the scale kind of tilts a little bit because of her age and stuff. She was so young, but she was fearless. She was running down, bunkering people, never afraid to make the move. She was always up in the 40 and 50 yard line bunkers. And I'm seeing more of that in the past couple of years than I ever have before. So I think, they're out there, they're getting excited about it, and they're trying to make their way. And who knows, dude, we very well could see a female professional in the pro league. That would be pretty cool for sure.
I think so too. I think paintball is a great platform where it could kind of, everything, not necessarily equal, but I think paintball in its most primitive general form is an opportunity for, females and males to be on the same level.
Listen, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I do, however, think that we might be going in a direction, the way the sport has evolved, where eventually we might need male and female leagues, just like you do in almost any other sport. But we need more women playing.
Absolutely.
and that's a huge market that I would love for us to have. And for a long time, I think, paintball is a scary sport. I was scared when I
Mm-hmm.
was younger, and when I speak to girls about it, they're like, oh, I don't want to get shot. I don't want a bruise on my neck. Not all of them, of course. There's some girls out there that'll kick your butt. You know what I
Same.
mean? But what I'm saying is like, yeah, they're realizing now that, hey, I can go out there and it's not a physical sport like football. So their
Mm-hmm.
size, none of that matters. It's a mental sport.
Yeah.
So they can compete on the same level,
Mm-hmm.
easily. So yeah, girls, let's get out there and play. Let's play some paintball.
Do you remember? Do you remember Colton from down here in Columbus?
Dude, do I remember Colton? Come on, that's my
Dude,
guy. That's my
kid's a
guy right there.
monster,
He's
dude.
a monster. Yeah. Love
Fearless.
him to death. Yeah, I speak with his mom quite often actually through Facebook. She always updates me on what he's doing and all of his stuff. Yeah, that
Does his
kid's
dad
great.
know that you're talking to his mom?
I don't know. Shh, we gotta rewind.
He does now.
Yeah, of course he does.
No, but
Yeah,
that
that's
dude, that
awesome.
kid is just like off the wall. Like it was like I forget when I went down there and met him and played with him, but it was like I don't know. He'd been playing for 2 years, and this kid is running to like the 30 or 40 Dorito and just like snap shooting, and basic fundamentals are down. And I'm like, dude, this
Yeah, I
kid,
think he's 11 years old.
dude, yeah, 11 years old,
Yeah,
and he's just,
insane.
it's crazy.
Insane. Maybe 12. I don't know. He's somewhere in there. Again, time dilation really happens. But yeah, no, the kid's so young. I remember actually the first clinic I did for him out at Level Up, which I'll be back there later this year. Shout out to Dave Pando and his
I
field in
will
Ohio.
go
He's
this
like,
year.
yeah, dude, come this
I
time.
will go this
exactly.
year.
You've been every year like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stop by, and then you don't stop by.
Family,
Too cool
dude.
for us. Huh?
Family.
Too cool. Okay, pull the family card.
All
You
right,
win.
I will
All
be
right.
here. All right, I will be there this year.
But
Virtual handshake.
perfect. All right, holding you to it, virtual. Boom.
There you go.
There it is. It's real. All right. But dude, I remember the first clinic or the first time I met him, at lunch, his dad pulls us over and he's like, hey, you want some, we got some deer jerky and stuff like that.
Oh,
That Colton shot and killed himself on his first hunting trip. I'm like, what? This kid's just a young savage. He's so the thing with him is, because he's so young, it's if he will stay interested or not.
right.
And I tell that to a lot of people at clinics, when there's that one or two special players, which there are often, it becomes a thing of, are they going to stay interested? If that kid Colton stays interested, he will absolutely be professional, and hopefully on my team, hopefully on Dynasty. I would love to. I'm throwing it out there for everybody to hear.
I'll be long
Well,
gone by
yeah,
the time he's
they
up
could-
in, or yeah, you never know.
Oh,
Maybe he'll
come
be up there
on,
next
dude.
year.
Yeah, you say you'll be long gone. We'll see. You got years in you, dude.
I'm getting old, man. I'm getting
How old
old.
you now?
I'm let's see if I can remember.
29?
No, I'm 32.
32?
32.
You run a lot younger than that.
So are they doing that whole race thing in Las Vegas? That they're
I don't know, but I don't think anybody wants to challenge Mouse, especially if they're putting their own money up for it. Sorry, dude. I don't know what to tell you, but I think he's got you beat.
Dude, honestly, I could give two shits because it doesn't matter to me. Like I was thinking
And you
about
don't
it.
train for it.
Well, no, like now that I'm doing jujitsu, like I'm getting conditioning, and I've been doing some stuff at home, but I'm not like, it's not my full-time job. Like it's not
Right,
full
right,
attention,
right.
but no, I don't train for it. I think I can run step for step. He might have me. But
Now you guys are step.
But the thing is, it doesn't, like, it's not what matters to me. I honestly don't like doing it. It's not the fact that I think I'm faster than people and I don't have to race. I just don't like fucking racing. It makes me feel like how I did back in football when I had to run faster than everybody else because everybody's trying to tackle me. I just don't like. I don't know. I just don't like racing. It's just not my thing.
It's a great skill to have in paintball, though.
Oh yeah.
I know all the time people they say, you don't necessarily need speed. It's a game about, it's a mental game, which it is, but
Yeah.
to be able to close the gaps the way you or Mouse can, it's insane. Like that's why you make some of the most dynamic moves in the game. Like you're fun to watch. I've always enjoyed watching you play. Mouse is the same thing.
Thank you.
You guys see a move, and for me, I have to see a bigger window than you guys can see. You know what I mean? I need to see a little bit bigger of a window, so I have less opportunities to make certain moves because I'm a little slower.
Yeah.
But you guys, you see a move, you don't need a big window, and boom, all of a sudden you're on the other team's side of the field, and that's to me, I think that's a sport. The direction that the sport will obviously eventually go in. I think we've just done nothing but get more and more athletic over the years, and we're probably the most athletic. Not probably, we are definitely the most athletic pro division that there's ever been.
I agree with that.
And you guys are leading the way with that, which is awesome. You know, I'm in the gym all the time. I just I don't have that natural speed, unfortunately. I mean, I'm okay. I'm decently fast. I could get where I need to go, but I wish I had the speed you guys have.
But I think it's just like anything else, right? So I think you guys are way above and beyond my skill set. As far, you know, I have speed, but as far as just roundabout talent, you guys, I feel like, outweigh me by a ton. But I feel like what you guys do.
I wouldn't say a ton, but.
But well, you know, like there are parts of my game that have gaps, right? Which all of us would say we have. But I mean, it comes to show. I mean, you guys are as players very successful. I don't want to say I'm unsuccessful. I just haven't been able to find not necessarily the right team or the right group of guys. I just haven't been able to find maybe my own stride and help a team win. It's just kind of a different way that I guess I've gone about my game. And I think a lot now it's almost frowned upon the way I play because it's not as methodical as other people think. You know, I might make moves where people are like, what the fuck are you doing? When it's like, when I see something, I see something. It's not just a blind move, you know?
Right.
So, and I think a lot of the game now, and I think why it's kind of slowed down, even though we were talking about speed, I think it's slowed down because a lot less, how do I want to say this? Nobody wants to make a mistake, right? And I feel like a lot more people and players in the game are not willing to make that mistake until they are for sure the outcome. Like, I don't really know I have the outcome in my head, but do I know that is exactly what's going to happen? No.
Sure.
Right. But I think that's what's kind of happened to our game now, and why we're going to games where it's 2-1 games.
But
games.
You know, as a front player, I think that's a bad mindset for people to get into. And so, for me, if I'm 100% honest, you're probably one of the top 5 players that I would want to play in front of me. And I mean that
really?
Because everybody, 100%, dude. I mean, if you remember back. You know, when I was on the Ironman, I was trying everything I could to get you on the team, and
that was that close, man. I was that close.
I genuinely wanted to play behind you because, you know, there's different. You can't have 5 of the same players on a team to win. That's just not how the game goes. You need players that create opportunities for other players, and you absolutely do that. You create that space. I like to call it creative space when I'm teaching my clinics. I explain to front players that the further down the field they get, their 2s and their 3s now have all of that space behind their front player that I do call creative space, because the opponent's guns are now shifted to the front player. They have to be. Otherwise, if they're too focused on their back players, then the front player can shoot them. They have to apply their pressure to that front player. So it frees up a lot of real estate on the field, and it allows a good 2 or 3 to kind of move around methodically, find a good shot, get himself into a good position to then help his front player even more and get some kills. So no joke. Yeah, you're in that top 5, always have been, because of that hyper aggressive style. And you're right, it doesn't always work. But if I was behind you and it didn't work, I'd be okay with it, because that's when now I'm slipped into the 35, 40-yard line bunker that after you just went and made a move, and hopefully I'm shooting people in the loaders, you know, or in the backs as they're shooting you. So, you know, I don't want people to think that style is not intelligent or not smart. It's a little reckless for sure, but you have to have that. You have to have that mentality, and it's a very rare mentality for players to have. A lot of players are very used to playing overly conservative, which sometimes I'm criticized for, and I do understand. I play a much more methodical game sometimes, but it doesn't always work, and it definitely wouldn't work if I don't have a player like you in front of me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know?
There's pros and cons to each playing style.
100%. My style only works if I have a player like you in front of me. You know, a fast player that gets down the field and creates space. That's why, Alex Goldman and I always played so well together.
Yeah.
Is because we would complement each other's styles very well. You need that. You need that. How funny is it though that it's such a balance? And to me, my whole thing with life is everything is kind of a balance. It's all the answers are usually somewhere in the middle or a little bit of both.
Yeah.
and like that's exactly how it is in paintball, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think and maybe that's what it's been. Why, I haven't really been too successful with some of the teams that I've been on, because my playing style is maybe so far out there, and we haven't found that balance where it's a quick follow up with a quick move. Because I feel like those moves that I make and those positions I make, I call them loader clippers. And when I get into those positions, that I feel like that allows the guy behind me to get in a position to clip loaders.
Loader clippers. Dude,
Clippers.
You're 100% right. Did you read my book, Paintball IQ? That's in there.
I want a hard copy. I want a hard copy.
Dude, hard copies are coming. I'm getting them done. I'm getting them, which is another awesome thing. Actually, the owner of BKI, Anthony Vitali, sorry. He's just the man, dude. He's such a pioneer. I love the guy. But we were talking, and I think he's going to help me get it into a hard copy, which is cool. So if I do, I'll send you one.
Absolutely, dude. I will push it.
You probably know everything that's in there.
I will fucking read it.
Anyone for fun.
I will read it. I need to sharpen my edges anyway. So I'll read it for sure.
Right.
No, I thought about it. I was like, there are not too many books out there on kind of what we do and how to do it well. And I think yours.
There's none. There's none. There's no books that teach paintball. I'm proud to say it was definitely the first. Actually, one of the coolest things that I've had happen was it was either Atlantic City or Chicago. We played the Outlaws, and it was a close game. Actually, they played us really well. After the game, we did beat them. After the game, just want to throw it in to make sure we won, because they did beat us. They beat us once this last year.
Yeah.
Again, forget the term, whatever. But as we were shaking hands, Ben Challenger, he shook my hand. He said, "Hey, Marcello, I just have to tell you, I read your book, Paintball IQ, and that's a huge reason that I'm here on the pro stage." And I was just mind blown. Like, that's like one of the coolest things to hear and see as someone who puts out some content like that. Like whoa, that's
and then you signed the copy of his book in line while you guys were shaking hands. He didn't have it on him.
He didn't have it on him. Yeah. But no, I got mad love for that kid. I mean,
that's awesome,
that was the
dude.
first. I always knew of him, heard of him. Obviously, he was in the league, so I wanted to kind of study him and stuff. But for him to say that was just like, to take a step back. I was like, wow, that's really it's cool to be able to do something like that. It's cool to be able to have, because that's the goal of the book. That's the goal of the product. That's the goal of teaching, is we want it to work, right? That's the goal. So to see it, and obviously, dude, it's all because of his own hard work. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's playing with San Diego Aftermath now. So he's been in town every time they have Aftermath practices, and the kid is at the field all the time. He's hitting me up Monday to Friday. Let's go do drills. I'm at the field. Let's go do drills. I'm at the field. Let's go do drills. I'm at the field. I'm like, dude, I got to rest. My knees hurt.
I got more shit to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeez. But, his hard work is definitely, the reason he's there. But it was cool that he showed appreciation for a little bit of content that he read.
Yeah. So that's kind of a weird area, is like, the shaking hands afterwards, because usually guys who lost a game, they're all like, looking down at the ground or all pissed off and smacking your hand or whatever. But whenever I go through those, I'm always congratulating the other team because we were outplayed. I always look at it like that way, because that kind of puts that game to rest, right? I mean, I'm never bitter about a game or anything. I know we had a pretty close game this past year after Shock and I forget. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was World Cup, but it might have been the one before. But the one where
Chicago.
Was it Chicago?
Chicago with the diamond.
Yeah.
That
was a fun game, dude.
It was Chicago. That was a super fun game. That was a really.
Were
fun
you getting
game.
frustrated?
Actually, Nick Sloviak and I. Was I getting frustrated during the game? I don't know. I thought I was having a pretty good game.
Well, you were in that corner.
No, yes. I lost. Okay, so I had two 2-on-1s against you guys, and both of them I brought to a 1-on-1, and then I lost the 1-on-1 to John Parrish. I think that's who it was.
I think so, maybe.
Yeah, he beat me in 2 1-on-1s, which One-on-ones are like, in my opinion, they're my thing. I feel pretty confident in them, and he beat me both times, and I was just like, whoa, dude, this kid. And yes, I was getting a little frustrated, but it was also a good, yeah, a good. Sometimes you need that. You need a little reality check. Like, dude, there's kids out here that are hungrier than you.
Yeah.
They want to be better than you. They might be better than you already. Like, you got to keep working, man. You can't get complacent. But yes, I'm pretty sure it was Chicago. That game was fun.
Yeah, I remember that game because I remember I caught you one time. You were in the corner, and I had dove into the diamond.
Oh, here we go.
And
here we go.
And well, it was the 2-on-4. It was the 2-on-4 with me and Rob, and then I went from the diamond. I got into the diamond. You were in the corner. I came on the inside, shot you in the corner, and then I jumped over into the W, and then shot Kyle.
I remember exactly that point. Again, look, dude, that was a creative point from you. You slipped into the diamond really fast and shot me, and coming inside of that W was something that I tell you not to do in my book. Right? But you went and
do the book. Don't follow me.
See, and that's a funny thing too. And actually, when I'm in person with people, you can always explain this, but nothing in paintball is in absolutes. Am I right? There's no absolutes. You can have what's correct most of the time, but there's just so many variables that are constantly changing that you cannot say that one way is always right. Yeah. And sometimes as players, actually, I read a very interesting book. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell.
No, not yet, but I've read all of his other books.
Read Blink then. It's one of my favorite books ever. And it's about the subconscious mind and how humans, the longer we think about decisions, more times than not, we end up making the wrong decision because we put too much time into it, which allows emotion and outside factors to come into play that actually have nothing to do with the logic. That whole instinct, if you will, that gut feeling that we talk about, whether it's about a person or a thing, is actually your brain working very efficiently and extremely fast to process all the information that it has up until that point about every single thing to do with that scenario. And it makes on the fly the best, most accurate decision. Now, again, that's also not an absolutes, and it explains it in the book, but there's a lot of controlled studies that they did to prove this theory.
Yeah.
And, same thing in paintball. Sometimes you find, like, you think of something and it's like, I got to do this. You just got to go and do it. And sometimes it works. And that's your brain actually dissecting. Maybe it's seen a little bit of that situation before, and it understands, you're in the diamond on the 50-yard line. I'm in the snake corner. And the traditional thing is to play the tape, shoot the guy in front of you, and then rap on me. But for some reason, you've played Marcello, you've played me, oh man, we played a lot over the years. Let's say 150 times.
Fuck.
You know that I'm going to be waiting for that shot. And so instead you come in inside, and it works for you because you trust yourself. But if you sit there and you question it and you overthink it, the opportunity's gone. So for me, that's why instincts in paintball and playing without hesitation is such an important thing. And I do find, like, when I play my worst games, it's because I'm trying to overanalyze things. I play my best when I'm just kind of having fun and just going with whatever the game brings to me. And my mind is, it's flowing. It's flow state, exactly, which is a thing that best athletes, they get into flow state. Well, every athlete does, but the athletes that really allow themselves to live in that moment, in that flow state moment, they succeed the most because your brain's making the right decisions. You're not just winging it per se. You know what I mean? Your brain's making very strategic, logical decisions. You just think that it's winging it because you haven't allowed your emotions to think about it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
So
that's I love it. I love it too because I think that's where the base of the run through comes from, right? Paintball's all about angles and all about, you want the best angle on this guy, best angle on this guy, but a guy that can play the tape but then use the inside or even up the middle and be able to use that, it's almost like you shoot a couple guys in and then you see this gap open up. It's like a running back looking for that hole, and it just appears, and you either make that decision or you second guess yourself, and it's gone. And it's just, I mean, I've gone back and watched a couple where I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? Oh yeah, that's right. I thought I saw something, and then I didn't, and I thought I did, and then I get shot. But others where it's just like you see it and you see guys' guns turn and everything just right at the right time. And everybody asks me, it's like, well, when is the right time to go? It's like, well, the right time to go when you think it's the right time to go. and you just can't teach it. It's a very, very, don't get discouraged. Everybody listening out there, don't get discouraged because it's not going to happen overnight, and it's not going to happen 2, 3 in a year. It's not going to happen. You're not going to perfect that. I don't think anybody ever does. But all you do is get better each and every time. But you have to do it, and don't think that you can't just because you got shot the first 2 times. You might have to maybe approach it a different way, but it's always going to be there.
Dude, 100%.
And that's in my book.
To just touch on that a little bit. Yeah. Dude, you need a book. Let's go. You got the podcast. You're making content. Get something up. This is something I'm preaching to everybody, man, is as pro players, it's on us. We need to create content. Yeah. We need to create content and excitement for our sport. What we do is amazing. Paintball has given me more opportunity than anything that has ever come into my life. And it's allowed us to do some awesome stuff, travel the world, create relationships with people that you'll never lose these relationships with, experience things that you can't pay for. No matter how much money you have, we've gotten to experience things that nobody else can buy. The friendships that I've made through it, that you've made through it, it's just too awesome, too amazing. It's done so much good for me that I know that my fellow professional players also feel the same way. And we need people to see that, because if people see it and understand it more, they're going to want to do it. And we need more people playing. We need more young kids that are hungry to come and take mine in your spot. That's what we need. I don't see enough of it these days, to be honest. I wish there was more. Maybe it's because we haven't provided the right platforms. And, I'm not just trying to plug, but that's why the Combine was so refreshing, is like, you realize, maybe these players are out there. They just need a platform to go and showcase themselves at, because I saw some good talent. I've met some at my clinics. I've met some kids that really have potential. Yeah. You know what I mean? So we just need to keep putting this content out and connecting with the fans, new players, friends, whatever you want to call them. We need to continue to push this.
So speaking of content, what is it that drives you as far as the social media goes? I mean, are you doing this because you love doing it, or are you doing it because you feel like you have this ability and this reach, and you have this audience to give something to?
I mean, it's a little bit of both, man. Like, honestly, if money wasn't involved, right? If I was an NBA player, I would probably take Kobe's path. Just the silent killer, show up, do my thing, and that would be it. But this isn't, and paintball, to me, I'm an athlete in the sport, which is, one of my main focuses. Yeah. But beyond that, I'm an ambassador of the sport, and I want people to see our sport. I want people to understand it. I want to help the sport grow. So for me, it's a lot of me feeling like it's part of my responsibility as a professional to give back to a sport that's given me everything that it has. Yeah. Of course, there's I get a lot of messages, dude, from people that are like, man, I really needed to hear this today. This really made my day better. And for me, that's like, wow, dude, that's super awesome. But I know for every person that sends me one of those messages, there's also the people that are, oh, Marcello's so annoying. I don't want to hear another post from him. This is stupid, this and that. And, it's funny because I even get it when I go to clinics and stuff. Right? I got one of this last weekend. So I'm like, dude, I thought you were just going to be a total California douchebag, but you turned out to be like one of the coolest dudes that I know. And shout out to them. When he hears this, he's going to know. He was at the Boston Combine.
Greg Sewers.
But I get that a lot. Yeah, Greg Sewers. No, man, but I get it a lot. But you know what? I don't care, because like I said, the messages that I do get of people that there's people that truly look at my stuff and it makes them feel better, or it makes them more inspired, or it makes them motivated. And to me, that's huge. And then more so than that, like I touched on before, is it's something that people that don't understand our sport can come and watch. They can see my content and they can learn about our game. They can learn about what it is that we do through my social media outlets. So it's a mix of all of it, dude. Trust me, there's days where I'm posting something, I'm like, dude, I don't want to post, but I feel the responsibility to, because I have people that care. And it does need to go both ways. I care about the people that follow what we do, because they make it possible. Without them, what do we do? Honestly, professional paintball, if you think about it, professional paintball in the current state that it's in, as far as, air balloon bunkers and X ball type matches, that could honestly go away almost at any moment. It seems like it could be pretty fragile, but
Right.
it also seems like it could just completely blossom at any moment. So
Hmm.
that responsibility is on us as pros. And I do think we have the most unified group of professionals that we've ever had, as far as seeing the vision and having a bunch of different players from pro teams going in that direction. I mean, look at it. You with your podcast, you've got Alex Gray with his podcast. You have the whole BKI team, which is doing their thing. If you go through social media, there's people from different teams that are stepping up to the plate. You look at Russian Legion, their Instagram is really active.
Hmm.
Their social media is really active. They connect with their fans. And the reason that's important, I can kind of connect it to the same reason I actually am now a fan of the NXL expanding to 20 teams. The closer you can relate to people, the more likely they're going to want to do what you're doing. So say, let's take New York Extreme, for example. There's now a professional team in New York. That team is going to go to the events. They're going to compete. They're going to be on the webcast. People from New York that play paintball are going to watch. People from their local field are going to watch and root for their boys, I hope. I would
Hmm.
imagine. And that's going to create those players from that local field to be much more motivated to try to get into that program and work their way up the ranks and then become a professional. It's
Hmm.
the same thing with social media, in my opinion. Players can look at like Ryan's Instagram, Ryan Greenspan, and they could see like, wow, dude, this is amazing. This guy has made a living out of this. He gets to travel the world. He does cool things. He's someone I'm inspired by. He's my idol,
Yeah.
even. And that inspires them to, okay, I want to go out this weekend. I want to do drills on Saturday. I'm going to scrimmage on Sunday. I'm going to take this serious because one day I want to be that. But if we don't have that, if we don't have something that people can aspire to be, pro paintball can just go away. But if we have a ton of the pros that are inspiring a ton of kids in their area, pro paintball is going to flourish. There's going to be more tournament or more teams competing in the tournaments. There's going to
Hmm.
be more players fighting for a pro spot. So for me, that's why it's important. And sorry to kind of I ran on with that question, but
No, that's all right.
it's a good one and it's valuable to me. And it's
So you think it's a good
yeah.
thing that we're expanding to 20 teams?
Yeah, I do. And I originally thought it wasn't. My original take on it was,
You and Ryan kind of have different opinions on this, don't you? I was kind of watching the BKI live thing that you guys were running, and he kind of had a different take on this whole adding 4 teams being the answer, I guess.
well, I don't think it's an answer. I don't know if it's the answer, but did he have a different take? I thought he was kind of on board. Where was he with it? I
I don't
don't know.
know. I forget. I only watched a couple seconds of it. And then
Okay, yeah, maybe he wasn't, but I thought it was someone else that wasn't quite on board. However, Ryan might have just been disagreeing to disagree with me because he likes to do that often, whether he agrees or not. He
Yeah.
just likes to debate. He likes to debate. But maybe he does have a different take. But let me kind of walk you through the process of what brought me to this conclusion. And
Hmm.
it's that originally I thought, okay, so it waters down the division. Um, there's definitely going to be teams that get blown out. It's going to happen, which sucks. Another thing is it's kind of a bummer when there's pro teams that are still paying their own way because, say those players are at the airport, they're on a plane, they're on their way to an NXL event and they start talking to somebody, or they're at their local field and they're talking to somebody. And the players at the local field or the random person at the airport ask them, pro paintball, that's what you do. Like, wow. Do you make any money doing it? What's the opportunity there? Blah, blah, blah. And say, well, actually, I got to pay for this to
Hmm.
go do it. Well, then it's not as inspiring to become a professional. That was my original take on it. And you could argue that side. I think it's a valid point. But the other side that actually Nick Sloviak had brought to my attention, and a few other people have mentioned this, and I tend to lean more towards that side. And again, the answer is always somewhere in the middle, but I do think it kind of tilts a little bit on this side. That excitement that it's going to bring in those areas, I think is more important than the other side. I think that creating more excitement within our sport, and not being worried about maybe what an outside perspective thinks of a professional paintball player and creating these different markets, I guess, if you will. Statistically, I guess, I mean, I don't own a paintball company or anything like that, but from what I hear from, some of the different owners is when there's more professional teams, markets in that area, all the way down to the paintball stores, paint, so everything does better. So when I hear that, and then I put the logic of, yeah, I know that me growing up, if I didn't have all the pro teams around me, I might not have been as excited to turn pro, and I might not have done all the work that I did to turn pro. Yeah. I might have chose something else. So when I put those logics together, I think it's going to be a good thing. And to be honest, I mean, they're gonna figure it out. It might take a couple seasons, but if they understand that it's going to be a process, these new teams, and they understand that it's going to take some time for them to get good and compete, then I think it could be beneficial in the long run. But what would be horrible is if they play a season with high expectations and they get beat down and then they just fall out. Like that's unfortunate. That's a bummer. We don't need that.
So what's the professional paintball player of today's incentive on being on a professional team?
In my opinion, it's the idea that you need to be more than a player. If you become a professional player and you build your brand, and you have to be really good, you have to compete well, because that's the first way people are going to fall in love with you. But once you do that, you can market yourself really well, and you can self-promoting, but you could take that into so many different directions, whether it's writing a book, starting your own clothing company, starting your own paintball company, whatever it is. There's opportunities from becoming a professional paintball player. You just have to have a business mind. You have to learn how to market yourself. You have to learn how to promote yourself. And then most importantly, you have to learn how to monetize yourself. That's what professional paintball is right now. Hopefully, the goal is we get enough sponsorship one day, or maybe the webcast starts to do well enough to where money gets funneled back to the pros and pros can only play for a living. That would be great. If pros could only play for a living, that's the goal. But right now, even some of the highest paid pros on teams like Impact and Heat that have owners that are able to write checks, they're still, they're making decent money, but it's not enough to support a big family and live, a very glamorous lifestyle. You could be very happy and content with what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But really what you got to do as a professional is monetize yourself in many different aspects, whether it's teaching or, again, like I said, your own clothing brand or your own, whatever it might be. Maybe you want to make barrels. Maybe you want to start a league. You can do that by becoming a good professional paintball player.
Yeah, and I think that's the only tough thing right now that kind of has me. Maybe I'm old and bitter, but I think that's the only thing right now that's holding professional paintball back, at least from being as diverse as it could be. Is there are teams that are more well funded than others. I've made this claim before, but I feel like until enough people with money get into the sport and they start putting full-size indoors on the East Coast and the Midwest, and and we start getting more pro teams that have the funding and the ability to play in the off season year round, during the season year round, and against that kind of competition. I mean, I think that's why DMG is so damn good, is they play Impact all the time. So
for sure.
So it's like you have to have. I mean, obviously you guys can play year round, and teams in Texas can play year round, and that, I'm not trying, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying how it is. It is tough on the East Coast and the Midwest. Yeah. And I think until, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be outside money, or if it's going to be more team owners like Bart and Sarge and everybody else, to where everybody could make 30 grand and can be 25 years old or whatever, not have any kids, and run a decent life, but play professional paintball and focus on that, and not have to promote themselves, or to all they have to do is show up, play with the team, because the whole team is there, play with everybody, do your job, and go compete. But I think until we get there, there's going to be no consistency on the lower end teams. And like take Aftershock for instance. Like, a lot of people said we didn't really do well this year. I'd say there were 3 good times where we lost 3 overtime matches that could have put us on a Sunday, and as well as anybody that you could squeak into Sunday and win the fucking tournament.
100%. Dude, it's a game of inches. You always go back and it's 1 point here or there.
Exactly. So I mean, those 3 games, that could have changed. If we would have won those 3 games and at least made Sunday, we could have had a great year. But just those 3 points. So, but we're not consistent, and that's the thing. We're not consistent because I think there's many factors, but I think one of them is because we don't have the facilities or the resources that some other teams do, and it's not
for sure.
I swear to God, it's not because I want to see everybody on the same level, ability wise, like practice facility wise. But I know it's not possible yet. But that's where I want to see this being spread to the masses, paintball in general. And be hooked to this tournament side, and I think that is the answer we need to look for. And I don't know.
I got some answers for you there.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be through the webcast, through paying for the webcast. Everybody wants to grow the sport, but are we going to grow the sport selling the webcast to guys who are already invested in the game, or women who are already invested in the game? We need to figure out that reach to the masses for free in some way. I don't think it's going to be TV. I think TV's kind of on a seesaw.
Facebook, YouTube, that kind of stuff, live streaming. So I think we could definitely do some stuff like that. But dude, I think the webcast would be very, very powerful. This is something I could talk about for a long time because I'm most passionate about this. Unfortunately, I'm not as connected with, Richmond and the NXL and the Go Sports crew as I was with Paintball Access.
Yeah.
But I think the webcast is a huge, huge opportunity. And you just go back to numbers, man. Paintball Access, the structure that they had and the formula that they were using, the webcast was on a steady increase. From World Cup to Dallas, every year that they had the webcast from 2012 to 2013, 2014, World Cup had massive numbers, and then Dallas was a big drop. Mm-hmm. Well, in 2014, World Cup had the biggest numbers that they had ever had, and then 2015 in Dallas was even bigger numbers. And they were finally not only in the green, but starting to make some money. And it was showing, the trend was that more and more people were watching the webcast. People were buying the pay-per-view product, and the league was starting to make money off of it. I forget the exact numbers, but, it was about 80 grand to run the pro field, which was, that included everything, though, because they did a really high-end job with stats. The webcast was really good. It was also just, traditional 2 teams rather than the split deck, which I think is very important. We'll get to that in a second. But for me...
What, getting rid of split deck?
100%. Split deck has got to go. It's the worst
Gotta
thing.
Go. And I think we need to go to limited paint. I really think we need to go to limited paint. I really, really do.
All of that is, to me, all that kind of stuff, you might be right, because I played in Europe for a couple seasons with limited paint, and it wasn't that different. Like, you still get the really low, you get the really long games because people run out of paint early and then they're scared to make moves. So it goes both ways with limited paint. But for me, the show is what's important, because you need people that are going to pay for your product, right? And so the show is very important. If the webcast can start making money and it's getting more viewers, it's a win-win-win all the way around. Because if the webcast is not only self-sufficient, but say it makes $20,000 the first year. Okay, well, hey, guess what? That $20,000 could then go towards prize packages for the pros. It's not hard to track how many people follow or watch each game. That's easy. They have the statistics on, okay, when Aftershock plays Dynasty, 10,000 people watch. When Impact plays Houston Heat, 30,000 people watch. Like, they have the stats on that. So you can do it many different ways. You can distribute the excess cash to the teams based on, some sort of pyramid scale, or, you can make the prize package bigger, which, I mean, come on, dude, let's be honest. People tune into ESPN to watch poker. In my opinion, and what many people would agree with, is the reason being is because they're playing for millions of dollars. Yeah. They're playing for so much money. It's like, dude, oh my God, that dude is playing a $800,000 hand and he's all in.
Suspense.
Crazy. Yeah. It's suspense. Exactly. So I know, being in the green by $5,000 or $10,000 isn't much, but it was on an upward trend. So that formula was working, which shows that there's people that are willing to pay for the webcast, and there are people that are interested in it. So that tells me that we have to create a good product. We have to create a product that is very digestible to the players, and more importantly, to people that don't understand paintball. It's impossible to do that with split deck. It's impossible, because.
But how do you do that if you're charging, though? I mean, is the uninformed viewer going
to do what?
Well, is the uninformed viewer of paintball, how do they discover the webcast, and then how do you go about convincing them to pay for it?
Well, I don't think you're going to get someone who just knows nothing about paintball, doesn't have an affiliate, he's not affiliated with a family member or something. They're not going to buy it. So that's why you give free content as well. You have to have free content. So I always go back to UFC, which is a great platform. Mm-hmm. The Ronda Rousey Betch Correa fight, this was years ago. I didn't know who Ronda Rousey was. I had just heard of her a few times. I'd never watched her fight.
Yeah.
I used to be big into the UFC. But I'm sorry, I didn't want to watch girls fight. I just didn't think it would be optimal. I didn't think it would be the best. And I'm sorry for the ladies out there. I got proven wrong, first of all, Yeah. But I just wasn't that interested. Because what I've learned over the years in sports and movies, even anything, is you follow personalities. That's what you're interested in. In movies, there's certain actors that no matter what movie they're in, I'll watch. Denzel Washington, whatever movie he's in, I'm going to watch. Mm-hmm. Not because of the movie or the director or what it's about, but because of Denzel Washington, right. Because of that character. Basketball, football, it's all the same. I have teams that I like, but it's because of the players. I have players that I will tune in and I will watch every single game that Russell Westbrook is playing that I can watch. I'll watch it because he's my favorite player. Or Kobe before he retired. I watched every game. But if I watch two basketball teams that don't have players that I'm interested on, I can't sit through a game and watch it. I'm not interested. I'm interested in the personality. I'm interested in the stats. I'm interested if Russell Westbrook is going to get another triple-double. That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in. So why is paintball any different? Bring it back to the Betch Correa-Ronda Rousey fight. I never heard of either one of them, but the build-up, all the free content, all the commercials, it was Betch Correa talking mad shit to Ronda Rousey. I mean, it was vicious, the stuff she was saying. Mm-hmm. Like, wow, I was hooked. I couldn't wait to spend $100 for that fight.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait, Then the fight came. It lasted 16 seconds. Ronda Rousey knocked her out right away, and I was stoked. I loved it. I was so stoked. I was $100 best spent.
Yeah.
Because I was so into the buildup. So I think that's what we need. I think we need to tell us a story that is absolutely free. But I think the main product, you charge for that. That's the product.
Yeah.
So so the buildup between the events is super important. The stories between events is super important. The drama. Impact has beat Dynasty 3 out of the last 5 times they've played. Alex Goldman and Marcello Margott grew up playing together. J-Rab is from the same area as Marcello. We grew up playing together. Ryan Greenspan is like apparently the GOAT right now, but he's not able to overcome Impact.
He doesn't age.
All of this, he doesn't age. He doesn't age at all. He gets younger. All of this stuff is really important information that we're not getting out there. If you subscribe to Go Sports right now, you get all of this behind the paywall. In my opinion, that content should be free. And you should charge us a pay-per-view thing for the event. But that's just my opinion. They see it differently, I don't agree with how they're doing it. The games are extremely hard to follow. You have 4 teams playing at once, right? When you're watching it live, it's awesome. But when you're watching on the webcast, the show, which is where we're talking, we need it to be the best. It is so difficult.
Yeah.
If I'm watching Dynasty and Impact play, and then the next game is Infamous and Katana, you're watching this very intense game and it could be either team. It could be Katana and Infamous, or it could be Dynasty and Impact.
One could have the momentum, the other one could be stale.
And so you lose the momentum, but most importantly, the story is not able to be told, and that's what's important to me. You go back to the Super Bowl last year. I don't know who here are football fans, but go back to the Super Bowl last year when Edelman made that catch.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows the famous Edelman catch because even if you didn't watch the Super Bowl, you saw the catch. Mm-hmm. When it happened in real time, for me, it wasn't that special. I was like, oh, good catch. When they slowed it down and replayed it in slow motion, you go, oh, my God, that's why he's one of the best. Yeah. Look at that concentration. Look at that skill. Like, that was insane when they slowed it down. Paintball is no different. It's already hard to follow and understand because we don't have one focal point. We have many things going against us. So for me, a 2-minute break in between each point is the number one way. It's the only way that someone like Matty Marshall, who's the best storyteller of paintball in all time, and Todd Martinez, who's also very animated and very knowledgeable, can go back and they could do replays of maybe a slow motion shot of Carl Markowski coming out of the snake, putting his corner in, shooting him, and then running down and bunkering two guys while Maddie's explaining what's going on in your head as that move's being made.
Yeah.
Then as a viewer, you're sitting there watching it going, oh my God, that was so sweet.
Yep.
Look at that slow motion, that ball leaving the barrel, hitting that person. You don't realize when you're watching the fast-paced webcast a good shot. You don't realize it. You just see maybe a ball explode and that's it.
It's all
but
like,
if you
it's all like
watch,
that.
if you watch a player take a snapshot and then you watch his ball go and travel to the other player who's playing as tight as possible, and you watch it hit him and explode off him, dude, as a viewer, whether you watch paintball or not, you're going to be like, oh my God, that was sick.
Yep.
Like if you don't know paintball, you're going to understand at that moment, wow, that's why he's good. Okay, this really does take skill. This really is a sport. And then you're also going to understand the flow of the game because there's a story being told within the story. There's Maddie, Marshall, and Todd had 2 minutes to animate what's going on and prep you for the next point and break down everything that happened in the last point. So for me, that's why the webcast was doing so well, is because people were very interested in watching it. I loved watching the games. Split deck ruins that. You can't do it with split deck. And I totally understand saving cost as a league, and you want to put 4 teams on one field to save time so you can pay less reps and all that stuff. I get that. However, I personally think a way around that is you just put other teams on other fields. You know, pro teams might complain about it, but look, here's how you go about that. How many views does your team get? Are you in category A or B? People in category A, they're the people that have, you know, they're the teams that have the most views. Category B, you're the teams that get the least amount of views. So the teams that get the least amount of views, we have 4 prelim games. Maybe they only get 2 prelim games on the pro field and then 2 are on another field. I'm sorry, but that's how it goes. NFL, they have, you know, their premier games. NBA, they have their premier games on ESPN that they put on because that's the most watched. That's the most viewed. That's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to grow our professional sport. We need to grow the webcast. The show needs to be really good. The show needs to be quality content. And I would hope that the pro teams would understand that. I would hope that the pro teams wouldn't complain and say, well, I'm not going to play in the pro division because I'm not on the webcast 4 times out of my 4 prelim games.
Right.
You know, I just think that we are doing it wrong in that sense. And I really wish that there was a way to correct that because I think it's very important. And I do understand what you're saying with the free content. That avenue could work as well. But I do believe that this avenue could work very efficiently and we can work and grow from within the industry and get more and more people paying for the webcast. And then if our numbers are better, then we could also get outside sponsorship dollars, which is something that we always talk about.
Yeah. Well,
So
we need to find that because I think the biggest thing now for these fields is overhead, right? So we need to figure out a way to shave off that overhead to make the field more affordable as far as cost goes to the webcast. So if we need to shave off overhead on, you know, because what are they saying that it costs to run the pro field? What do they say? $30,000.
Yeah, I don't know what the NXL. That number does sound remotely familiar.
But something like that. So like, just imagine what we could do if we were to take it, down from split deck and have one team on there and be able to, I guess that's the tough part with the 2 fields because now you got to hire a whole nother set of refs but this is all conversation that needs to happen at World Cup of last year, and maybe they did. I don't know. I'm not in the meeting, but maybe they did. But this is all stuff that needs to happen because we are on the forefront of what paintball could be, and if it's gonna go somewhere, it's gonna go somewhere. I believe soon. I believe with the internet, with everything that's happening, with the popularity of live streaming. It's going to happen somewhere. It's going to happen soon. And we need to make this thing that is professional paintball, the tournament style, pitchable. We have to make it pitchable. Otherwise, we are just going to continue to roller coaster through the economy and through, whatever rich guys are in the sport and want to stay in or want to leave or whatever. Yeah. So we got to jump sometime.
Oh, I agree. So real quick to touch on that, though, yes, we would have to pay for another field. takes money to make money. And that's one thing that, you know, a lot of people disagreed with a lot of stuff that Dave Youngblood did, but as far as the league goes, but dude, in my opinion, he really cared about the sport, and he understood what it took to bring the best product. And I thought he did a very good job of putting paintball first, as far as making sure there was a really quality product. I'm not saying they're not doing that now. I see a lot of good things with the NXL. The NXL is doing a lot of really awesome stuff that I'm excited about. Events are fun. When you're there, the atmosphere is really good. I'm not hating on any of that.
No,
and
not at all.
And at Go Sports, they're also doing a really good job. Cena and Matt Ingles with My Fan Wagon and the stats that they have tried to bring us, they're doing the best that they can. I get that, but I just think the vision's a little bit in the wrong direction. And to go back with that, so yes, you got to pay for another field, another refs, this and that. But if the show is better, you have way more of a chance of getting somebody like Cliff Bar or one of these
GoPro,
you name it, GoPro, something. But if they watch what we have now, if we send like a sponsored deck to one of these companies and then they watch the webcast, they're gonna go, huh? Mm-hmm. I don't care. And then they might say if it's strictly business, they might say, well, what are your numbers? But the numbers aren't better than they have been in the past, you know? So they're good, they are good, but they're not as good as they could be.
Right.
So that's why I think you focus organically on growing make it a really good digestible product. Yeah. Make it something that outside people, which again, if you were to have shots in between points of a slow motion elimination or something like that, people that don't even know paintball would think that's sweet. Like I've put up videos on my Instagram of me just throwing a paintball in the air in slow motion and shooting it out of the air. And like people that don't know paintball are like, oh my God, that was so sick.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
So we keep it simple. We need that stuff in the webcast, and then you can get outside sponsorship dollars. Then you can have money that will make up the cost for your extra field with your extra refs. Yeah. I think we looked at it the wrong way, saying, well, if we give away for free, then we can build. It's like that Will Smith saying, dude, to build a wall, let's just lay one brick at a time and let's lay it as best as possible. Let's make a really good brick. Mm-hmm. Each day, just take one brick, spend all day on that one brick. Let's do the same thing with the webcast. Let's make that product really, really good. And sure, you might have to sacrifice a little bit of money for a little bit, but look, don't take over the professional paintball circuit and then not be able to supply something that was already supplied before. And I guess that's my biggest beef is when the NXL came in, there was a lot of promises of being, better. And I guess in some ways they are doing things better, but the webcast and the show, in my opinion, are the most important. Mm-hmm. It's most important for a professional paintball player because that is ultimately what's going to get outside sponsors.
That's the public view.
That's the public view. So it needs to be done right.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Stick around with me for just a little bit. I'm got to wrap up a little bit. The little one's, he's sick. He's been sick for like a couple days. I gotta go help him out. Yeah, but dude, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I had a great time. I'm glad that I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, and I mean there is, but there isn't. But it's really hard, especially with paintball and our content. We can only talk about so much, right? But I feel like what I enjoy and how I go about things is I love learning about the player. I love telling stories, not necessarily always paintball related, but just ideas in general about everything. And that's one of the big reasons why I wanted you on, because you're definitely a big personality, along with just being a great spokesman for the sport itself, and you're a great friend and somebody that I believe has a lot of knowledge in the sport. So thank you so much for sitting down and bullshitting with me.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, man. I enjoyed it. I've been waiting for you to ask me to be on this thing for a while now. I don't know what took you so long, but
in all due time.
I was happy to finally join, man, and I would love to sit down and do it again. I appreciate that you're doing this as well. So again, like I said, we need more content. So you doing this podcast, man, it doesn't go unnoticed, and I hope you just stay motivated with it, because so far you've had a ton of good episodes. I've listened to most of them, not all of them, but I love it. I love the show, and I want to see more of it. I expect to see more of it, and have me back soon, yeah?
Hell yeah, man. Thank you very much. And we'll do a mid-season, and we'll do an end season as well.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm all in.
Sweet, man. Well, everybody, everyone who's listening probably follows Marcello already, but make sure you follow him on on Instagram and everything else that he has out there. Buy his book. It's a great read. I know, because I'm going to have a hard copy and I'm going to read it and tell everybody about it. So, but dude, thank you so much. And we'll see you here in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's coming up soon. If you don't mind, dude, I would like to give just one plug back, reaching back to the BKI thing with what we're doing, the whole online stuff, which is awesome. You can go to BKI's website to get logged in, use promo code Marcello33. But most importantly, you asked me a question earlier about how the Combine was a little bit like a clinic and how it really worked. And as I was explaining, I just forgot to touch on it. The Combine itself is more of a place to showcase your skill set. We are going to be doing summer camps. We're going to be doing a few different clinic style events. We have a summer camp coming up. It's actually going to be the end of July. I think July, you know what, I had the date written down here. It's July 25th through 29th. So it'll be like a 5-day four night sleepover. It's going to be, you know, the paintball camp. So it's going to be just an all-inclusive thing where you come, transportation is provided, stay is provided. We're all going to be staying together. You're going to have some of your favorite BKI professors, Ryan Greenspan, myself, Nick Sloviak. We're going to have a bunch of guests, and every day is going to be just all about paintball, nonstop. Wake up, paintball. We're going to teach you how to eat like the pros, train like the pros. We're going to have a lot of fitness stuff attached to this. We'll do some fun things. I think the owner has like maybe a Red Sox game or something kind of fun and nifty planned. Yeah. But it's just a week of serious paintball, you know, and really teaching you how to become a professional, because that was what we were missing at the Combine, is the chance to actually connect with players and teach them as much as we would like to. So I wanted to throw that little plug in there so you guys can check it out, because it's going to be coming up here in a little bit. And we'll have more information, you know, coming to you guys soon on all of our social media outlets. So
absolutely,
you know, thanks for letting me give that a shout out.
No problem, man. Anytime. We'll see you soon, bud.
Sounds good, man. Take care.
Later. Thank you so much, Marcello, for sitting down with me and chatting about your career, about the league now, about anything and everything that came up to mind. You know, that kid is one of a kind, man. He really is, and I think a big key to that is, I think, martial arts. I mean, I've had conversations with people who say that, you know, well, I think, well, I'm even my father thinks this way, and my grandfather, and I think a lot of military people probably think this way, is that everybody should do a couple years of the military just to gain discipline and a few things like that. And I think the same thing goes with martial arts. I mean, I think there's you know, getting choked out by a bigger, stronger person, you know, will humble you. And I think you'll learn some discipline through some martial arts, through jitsu, judo. I mean, throw out a martial art and a real martial art, and I'm sure that if your kid goes through it, he's gonna learn discipline. He's gonna learn respect, and you know, I think it's a big key of why Marcello is who he is. But thank you, Marcello, so much. Great time, man. Can't wait to talk with you again. And it's really cool seeing where he's ended up. But thank you to our sponsors, Planet Eclipse. They have, like I said, they've come up with every single year they've had better and better markers, and it's been cool to see. It's been cool to shoot all of the interpretations of the. I was gonna say the Intimidator, because I was just watching it. I was just watching a video on those, but you know, that's everybody's take on everything. I mean, that's the thing. It's like the dye markers have been done before. They're a matrix. You know, the LV series, the Mac Dev. They're all the same thing. They're all the same thing, and it's just who perfects it better. And Planet Eclipse has just, you know, put the cherry on top of every single one. So make sure you check them out, planeteclipse.com. Like I said before too, they have all kinds of soft gear and casual gear, along with the badass markers that you will find at Planet Eclipse. And again, just like every single podcast, I want to thank all of you out there for listening. Greatly appreciate it. You know, I can't love the support enough. You know, just a simple click and listen is huge for me, and because and not only me, I think for everybody else too that I have, all the guests that I have on here, because you know it's their story being heard, and it's, you know, it's not just their, you know, their paintball life, but it's their, you know, it's their real life, how they are at home. And I feel like this podcast makes everybody on here seem more personable and approachable at the events, and I'm sure their social media helps with that, but you know, I like to feel that I have, you know, I'm doing them justice by letting them, you know, tell their own story. So but thank you guys so much for listening, and gals for listening. Very much appreciated. And if this is your first podcast listen for you know, for this one in particular, you can reach me if you have any questions, concerns, guest suggestions. I am Carl_Markowski on Instagram, and Carl Microwave Markowski on the Facebook. And yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, those are the two ways to get a hold of me. And go ahead and follow. And also on YouTube, Carl Markowski. Like, subscribe, all that silly stuff. I know y'all know how to use YouTube, but again, thank you so much for being here with me and going through this journey. I'm hoping to get to at least episode 100 this year. That is my goal. I'm setting it down in somewhat stone, because I don't have a stone with me, but episode 100 is going to happen this year. I plan on having a bunch of guests this year, a bunch of stories, but yeah, thank you all so much for joining me, and we will see you guys here again soon on the Playing On podcast. Peace.